Hello, this is Ashee from Crafting with Ashee and welcome to this Christmas paper crafting tutorial. Thank you for joining me today. This is the lovely little project we're making. It's a hanging Santa little decoration, and you can see you've got the little here we've got a little elf on the front, and it's actually a little box envelope, and I've put a hole through it so we can hang it. And at the back here you can see I've stuffed it full of gold coins, and we can just hang that up. You can hang that on your tree, and it's such a lovely little decoration, I think, handmade decoration, and I really like it. So I wanted to share it with you today and show you how I made it. We're going to be using a few different stamp sets and paper and some dies to create our little box, well, a little envelope box. But let's start off, I think, with some stamping. The stamp set we're going to use is this one called Festive Friends, and you can see you've got these lovely three little images here. You've got the elf, the snowman, and Father Christmas. So this time we're going to use Father Christmas. I'm just going to put him on a block, and we're going to be stamping with Memento Tuxedo Black, and this is an alcohol friendly ink because we are going to be colouring in using the Stampin' Blend alcohol markers. And I'm just going to stamp here on some basic white cardstock and just put him down, hold, and then up. Lovely. So close up our ink pad before we have any disasters, and just going to move these scraps away for now, and we're going to start off here to do some colouring. Now I'm going to colour in using, as I said, the Stampin' Blend alcohol markers, and the red here I'm using, I tend to use real red, and I'm going to lay down my darker colour where I think there'll be shadows and where I want the colour to be a little darker, and then I'm going to blend it out using the lighter colour. And I tend to use both real red and cherry cobbler together, so I actually have 4 markers in that red family to blend and shade with, and it just gives me a little bit more extra options. And here, obviously, because of the camera, things look a little bit more faded out than they do actually in real life, but you'll be able to see at the end from the still shots that are on my blog post how this actually looks in reality. So you can see here I've got the 4 markers here, and these are cherry cobbler and real red, and I'm just using a mixture of them to really blend and just keep on going until I get something that I'm really happy with. There's not a lot of colouring to do with Father Christmas, as you can imagine. Now I'm going to give him some little green gloves, and I'm going to use shaded spruce for these, and there's not much to colour in there. And then for his boots we're going to use some basic black, and doing the same thing, going with the darker, and then going to just blend it out a little bit with the lighter colour here. And don't need to do any of his hair because it's all white. I'm going to do a little bit for his face here using what I call the skin tone selection from Stampin' Up. And here again I've used a few different markers, and I'm just putting it darker and then blending it out with a lighter until I'm happy. Now you can see here for all the white areas, I don't want them to look totally white. I want them to be some shadow and shade. So what I do is I'm using the lightest of the soft sea foam, and then just in little tiny spaces, and then I'm blending it out with the colourless lifter, just to give a little illusion of maybe a little bit of grey there. Alright, so there is our Father Christmas all coloured in. Doesn't he look cute? So now we are going to cut him out using the We will be cutting him out soon using the matching Festive Friends stamp set, dies. But first we're going to just quickly stamp our sentiment, and that says, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." And I wasn't happy the first time, the second time it worked better. And now I'm just showing you the dies I'm going to be using from Festive Friends, and the Jolly Delivery dies as well. And the paper we're going to use is the Christmas tags and more, just on a series paper. Now you can see I've cut my envelope box from real red cardstock, and this was from the Jolly Delivery die set that matches the Jolly Delivery die stamp set. And you can see here it cuts everything out for you and scores everything, so all you have to do is stick it together. It even gives you the notch at the top that I'm going to use to hang my ornament. So now all I'm going to do here is these 2 little tabs here at the top, I'm going to cut those off because we don't need those. And now I'm just going to put this together. So I'm going to put glue on these two tiny little tabs down here, and then I'm going to fold them in at right angles, keeping everything as squared off as possible. And this is going to start to create our little box envelope. And these are really cute. You could create them as a proper envelope if you've got really dimensional little cards or little ATCs or something like that. They'd be cute. So now we're going to put a little bit of glue down inside here, but firstly we want to put down our designer series paper. Now I've cut the same dies, I've cut it out of this designer series paper, which I said was the Christmas tags and more paper, and you can see here I'm just cutting off all the sections. So I'm just cutting along the score lines and cutting away these little tabs, because we're not going to need those tabs at all. I'm struggling to see a little bit, so just gave it a bit of a fold and I can see better. And along there and along there. And this way I've separated all these pieces, and now we're going to stick them down, and this is going to create our lovely little ornament. Right, so you can see here when I measured it, I thought it needed a tiny little bit of a hair cut off, and you can see I hardly cut anything off at all, just a tiny weeny bit. And we're going to stick this on the back of our little box. So let's do that. Put some glue down, my favourite Tombow, and I'm just going to stick that along the back just like that. Lovely jubbly. Give it a bit of a press down, and try not to make everything go topsy-turvy or squiggly wiggly, whatever you want to call it. And any bits that hang over the edge, a good pair of scissors can deal with that. Right, so now we're going to add in our extra little pieces here. So I'm just seeing where each piece will go, and then just use some glue to stick it down. Now all the measurement, I mean not really measurements, but all the supplies here are linked below in the description box. They're also linked on my blog, so you can shop anything I've shown you today. If by any chance something is already out of stock or retired, you will find plenty other options on the online store. But even you could make this even if you just take a piece of cardstock and work out the measurements yourself. I think that make really cute Christmas tree decorations. You could also use them for table decor. I think they'd be very nice as place names. You could make them as little place names on your Christmas table. There are so many different uses for it. I think it's a great set, and I have to say this is one of those sets that even though I normally try and sell on my retired cardstock and my retired stamps and dies, this is one set that's staying in my stash for absolute sure. But first and foremost, I'm a crafter and I have a stash, and I will always have a stash, because that's what we do as crafters. We always have a stash of goodies. Couldn't survive without a stash of goodies. So let's put a little bit of glue down there and fold this in, keeping everything nicely squared off, and like that. And then I'm just going to take my fingers in there and give everything a good pinch, because as you know, all glue is pressure adhesive, so pressure sensitive, so if you give it a good press, you're more likely to have a good seal. Right, so now here I've got my little sentiment, and I cut this out using the matching dies from Festive Friends, and I'm just going to use some little small mini dimensionals, or as I call them most of the time, baby dimensionals, and I'm going to take the backings off that, and I'm going to just put this here at the front. Perfect, I love that, really cute. And now we're ready to stick our little Father Christmas down, and I'm just deciding how I want him to go. Just going to put a tiny bit of glue at the bottom here on his booties, so you won't actually see those, but if you'd wanted to, you could have had them peeking out as well. And then I'm going to give that a really good press again, so there we are, lovely. Right, so now you can put anything back there, whatever little treat you want. I'm going to use here some of the decorative dots, the traditional decorative dots, and I'm just going to put a few on my piece here, just to give it an extra something. There we go, lovely jubbly. Right, So now all we've got left to do is we need to tie a bit of ribbon at the top to make our little loop. And this is some red ribbon, I will say, I had in my stash, but I will link to some other ribbon that we have in the online store as well. But like everybody, I am trying at times to use up what I've got rather than collect too much more stuff. I will say now, I'm not successful. I don't think any craft and any is successful in using all of their stash up. I don't think it's impossible to do that, but there you go. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Oh, I love these. They're just so cute. Look at them. So sweet. There you go. They've got the little elf and Father Christmas. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd be grateful if you could give it a big thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So until next time, enjoy being creative. Bye.